What's up, TGD fam? I know it's been a little while, but I wanted to come back and bring you a video on a gun it's probably not meta, but it's very close. It's one of those guns that's very slept on, very under the radar, and that's because it was terrible when it was released. But quickly after they released it, they patched it, and at the time there were still a lot of guns that were better. But now that all the guns have been rebalanced a little bit, this gun's kind of snuck back up and been pretty competitive in a lot of ways. I'd give it like an 8.5 out of 10 for like meta ranking, where 10 is like absolute meta. I also want to show off a little bit of the upcoming TGD update, so that's what this is right now that we're going to go through. So the gun is the Grav from Cold War. This was a gun that was released and had way too much recoil to start with. So we're going to add that and a bunch of other guns, and this is the new comparison tool where before you had a drop down, you had to select the gun, and then it would show the base stats, and you had to click next step to get to the attachments. Now, on this page, the drop down's already open, and it filters immediately as you click the different buttons. So we're going to find the Grav. It's right here. You can either quick add with this button here, or you can click on it to add attachments. So if you click on it, now the attachments pop up on this page rather than needing to go to the next page, which is a nice benefit. Another really nice thing about this update, if you can see down here in the damage data section, the damage values are now color matched to the target itself. So you can see very quickly what different spots on the body do what damage values, and that's going to be really nice just for quick analysis. So one thing I want to point out real quick, something special about the Grav's damage profile is it does 40 to the head and then 30 everywhere else. And 30 damage is a special number because in BR now we have 300 base health when you have 3 plates on. So 300 damage is a perfectly efficient damage value. So if you hit only body shots with the Grav, you do exactly 300 damage with 10 bullets. So that's how you get really good TTK numbers, and that's why DPS and TTK can kind of come out very differently. Because a gun could shoot a little bit faster and do 29 damage and actually have higher DPS but worse TTK at 300 health than this gun, since this gun is perfectly TTK efficient with exactly 300 health done. So the Grav still has pretty strong recoil, but it's not nearly as bad as when it was released. It's actually usable now. So we're going to add this real quick. I'll just use the quick add button. I'm not going to put any attachments on these guns. So I also want to compare it to the Cold War AK because I feel like it's pretty similar to that. XM4 is really popular right now, so let's add that as well. And then let's go to Vanguard and add the Automaton and the AS44. So now we got these 5 guns built. This is a new thing as well. It shows you which guns are at the top. And if you want to see the attachments, it's only going to tell you the number of attachments up here, but if you want to see the actual attachments, you just click View Details. It'll pop up with the sidebar just like now on the website, and you'll see all the attachments. But let's go compare all. Another nice change I want to mention real fast. Now at the bottom of TGD, this save and add another, save and generate summary, next step, all that stuff is going to be on a sticky thing on the bottom of the page. So you don't have to scroll down to see it. It's always going to be at the bottom of the page, which would be really nice for mobile. Since on mobile, there's so much information to display. In the past, you had to scroll a lot to get to the next step. So this would really speed up the use of the site. But let's go compare these weapons real quick. So like I said, the unique thing about that Grav damage profile is that in that first damage range, it does exactly 30 damage. So that means in the first damage range in regular Battle Royale, Vanguard Royale, which doesn't exist anymore, but if they ever bring it back, any 300 health mode, it has perfect TTK efficiency. So, and that's across the whole body except the head. So you look at this chart here, we've got the Grav, Cold War AK, XM4, Automaton, and AS44. The Grav is this orange, and you can see right off the bat, it has the best TTK of all these weapons by a decent amount. It's like 35, 40 milliseconds faster than the XM4 to the lower leg. And then if you look at every single one of these shot locations, let's go upper leg. You're going to see now it matches the AS44 exactly on upper leg. It still beats everything else. Lower arm, it's going to win again because it has that perfect TTK efficiency. Upper arm ties the AS44 again. Stomach ties the AS44. Chest ties the AS44 as the fastest. So across the board, in that first damage range, it's very, very fast. And then it's generally the same out at range. Like it's slightly slower out at range because it doesn't have exactly the perfect TTK efficiency, but it's very close to having perfect TTK efficiency. So it still has some of the absolute fastest TTKs at range. Obviously, TTK is not everything. So I'm going to hop in a game in a second and show you how this recoil compares. Obviously, it's going to be a stronger recoil gun because if it wasn't, it would just demolish everything. I do want to note, if you do put this on combination, it's going to look a lot worse. So if you put it on combination, 300 health, using my standard shot location percentages, you're going to see that the Grav in orange is now kind of middle of the pack. It's still faster than the XM4, faster than the Automaton, but it is a little bit slower than the AS44 and just a tiny, tiny bit slower than the Cold War AK. So absolute best TTK in an average scenario, if you hit any headshots at all, AS44 is going to come out a little bit faster. Same with the Cold War AK. It's going to be just a tiny bit faster in the first damage range, and then the AK is going to be a little bit slower in the second damage range. But overall, you can see that in a lot of cases, you're probably not going to hit a headshot. You're probably not going to hit a next shot. That will happen sometimes. But if you ever have a situation where you just hit body shots, it's almost impossible to beat this grav. So I want to quickly look at the recoil. So we got the grav in orange, and then I just want to compare to the Cold War AK, which is the magenta color. So absolute magnitude of the same number of bullets is very similar, but the grav shoots a lot faster than the Cold War AK. So that means the recoil rate, the amount of angle change of your screen per second is going to be quite a bit higher just because it shoots a lot faster. So you can see 181 pixels per second versus 134 pixels per second for the Cold War AK. So that's quite a bit more recoil that you have to control, and you definitely feel that when you're using it. You can see from this recoil plot here that the first probably about 5 bullets have quite a bit of recoil, and then after that, it's very manageable. This is another new feature, so you'll be able to put a distance underlaid behind the recoil chart, so you can see approximately how big this recoil is, and you can change the distance to that target to really compare the size of the recoil plot to a target at any distance. So you can put it at any range. You can see how tall that guy would be compared to an uncontrolled recoil spray pattern. So like I said, the grav kind of fits into the same category as the AS44, where it has pretty bad recoil, but it has really good TTK numbers. And if you're someone who likes that kind of weapon, that really likes to have a weapon that they can master and have an advantage with, then I think this is probably a really good thing for you to try out. You might not like it, you might like it, I don't know. I actually really enjoyed it. I think it's a pretty good gun, but I've got the AS44 built from my AS44 video probably a couple weeks ago. And then I've also got the Meta Grav built, and the build for the Grav is just the same as all the Black Ops Cold War weapons. So it's just axial arms, agency, last barrel, field agent grip, and then a lot of the time we would use this mag. This mag is really not worth using. It says it increases damage, but it's just not worth using. It makes the recoil even worse, and you only get 30 bullets, so I would not recommend that. The 50 round has pretty bad reload time. That's the one downside. But overall, I tried all the different mags, and I still think it's the best option. The 45 round, it's just kind of weird. It hurts your bullet velocity, and it's not the full 50 rounds. And the reload, even though it says it helps reload time, it's not a whole lot different. It doesn't feel a whole lot different. So I'd recommend just going with the 50 round mag. But I wanted to do a recoil comparison between the AS44 and the Grav real quick. So we're going to go like 5 meters right here. I've got them both built out with the full mag size. So I'm just going to lift my mouse off the ground and fire all 60 bullets and all 50 bullets. The damage per net mag between the two is pretty similar, so comparing the recoil is a pretty fair thing to do. And my game is freezing. Okay, what's going on? Look at that. That lag caused a really interesting recoil. Let's try that again. So I'll do the same thing. Okay, so there's the AS44. Now we're going to do the same thing with the 50 round Grav. Grav has a little bit more recoil, but again, they're both pretty consistent, pretty similar. Overall, they don't feel a whole lot different in practice. They both have that same amount. They have high recoil for the first 5 or 6 shots, and then after that, it's much more controllable. And in use, yeah, they feel pretty similar. I wouldn't say one feels a whole lot better or worse than the other one. Grav shoots a little bit slower, so there's a little more visual recoil. But the AS44 just is really bouncy overall. Like, it's just a lot more bouncy. You can see there with the visual recoil. Something else I want to highlight real quick about the Grav is it makes a fantastic sniper support, especially in Caldera right now because your engagements tend to be a little bit longer range. So having that extended range is huge. So I've got some really popular sniper supports on here right now. The Lapa is probably my personal favorite. It's just so good in every way. I've got the Cooper Carbine, which is also pretty popular. The Well Gun with the Shrouded Barrel, very popular. And then the Cold War AK, which for a long time was known as like the king of sniper supports, especially for the big map. So I've got this set to 300 health chest shots. So this is kind of the worst case scenario for the Grav in terms of body shots because most of the other guns have a chest multiplier, whereas the Grav, the whole body does the same as chest. So this is kind of a worst case scenario for this gun. And you can see, compared to all these, the only thing that beats it, and only beats it by 20-30 milliseconds out to 11 meters, is the Lapa. And if you put the rifled barrel on there, it'll beat it by 40 milliseconds or so. But that's going to cut your range down to like 9 meters. So you're only going to have like 9 meters of range where you beat the grav in terms of TTK. Obviously, SMGs are going to have better mobility. They're going to have slightly better sprint to fire time. But if you build out the grav as a sniper support, it has this insanely good TTK, even compared to the Cold War AK. I mean, it's almost 90 milliseconds faster than the Cold War AK to the chest. Let's pop it over to like lower leg and compare this to all these. And you're going to see, because like I said, it still does 30 damage to the lower leg. It's going to beat everything. Even demolishes the Lapa, demolishes the Wellgun, Cold War AK, Cooper Carbine. All those guns don't even come close to touching this in terms of TTK. And out to 25 meters, that recoil is not a big deal. I mean, when you're that close, recoil is not a huge deal. So let's jump into the game. I'll show you my sniper support build. Okay, so for sniper support, this is what I would recommend. Regular suppressor is great for sniper support when you're trying to build an AR as a sniper support, because it has so many positives. The only negative is the damage range, but a lot of the time you're going to be fighting SMGs. So even though your 25 meter damage range is cut by a little bit, it's still going to be way longer than all the other competitive SMGs. So that's not really an issue when you're trying to build this more like a sniper support SMG hybrid. If you don't like the damage range being killed, you can definitely get away with agency suppressor. This also obviously has great benefits. It's going to help you with recoil. It's going to help you more with bullet velocity, and it's actually going to increase that damage range, taking this out to like almost 30 meters of damage range, which is crazy to have that really good TTK. So it's not a bad option because the ADS on this really isn't that bad. So comparison between these two, they're both great choices. In general, I just go with suppressor because I want a little bit better ADS time and a little bit better sprint to fire time. Magazine, again, we're going to use 50 round mag, same reasons as when you're using it as a long range AR. Tiger Team Spotlight, so we basically get one attachment to play with because you need an optic. The irons are okay, so you should try them out, see if you can get away with it, but for me, the irons are just a little too bouncy, so I don't love them. So I'm going to always use an optic on this, but you should definitely try the irons, see if you think they're okay. And Raider stock we obviously need for the sprint to fire time, because if you ever come up against an SMG, which you will if you're using this as a sniper support, you're going to be really in trouble if you don't have good sprint to fire time. So this, in combination with the regular suppressor, makes it close to an SMG in terms of sprint to fire, which is basically essential. So we get one attachment to play with. Few good options would be the Tiger Team. Tiger Team is generally better than the Bruiser because the Bruiser just gives movement speed, whereas Tiger Team gives movement speed and aimed walking movement speed, and they both affect movement speed the same. So you basically just get extra movement speed for ADS walking with the Tiger Team. This pretty much helps every type of movement in the game, whereas the Bruiser just helps with regular movement and sprinting movement, since movement scales with sprinting speed. So you could potentially swap this laser out if you have really big problems with the recoil. Field Agent Grip's a good choice. It's going to hurt your movement speed a little bit, but again, recoil is really important. It's really important to hit your shots. Again, Bruiser's not really worth using. If you want absolute best movement speed when you're sprinting, Patrol Grip's the way to go. Gives 6 or 7% sprint speed versus the 3% sprint speed that you're going to get from the Tiger Team. So if you sprint all the time, which most people do, Patrol's going to give you a little bit faster movement than the Tiger Team. Another decent option would be like the Takedown Barrel. This is going to hurt your sprinting movement speed, but it's going to help your damage range again, bring it back up to 25, 26 meters, which is just huge for a sniper support, especially compared to other SMGs. So those are like the three options for this one last slot we get. I generally would use Tiger Team or Patrol Grip probably, just because I think mobility is really important and I can handle the recoil with this gun. But yeah, great sniper support. I think it's one of the absolute best in the game right now, and nobody's using it. So if you want one of those unique weapons that nobody's using and to potentially have an advantage, definitely try this gun out. I'm really working a lot on the website right now, but I'd still like to get back into making more YouTube videos. So let me know down in the comments what kind of videos you'd like to see. If you like these this is sort of a slept on gun that's actually really close to the meta. If you want to see more videos where I try to find guns that are kind of hidden and not used very much that can still be very competitive, let me know. I'd just really be curious to know what kind of things you guys want to see from me down in the comments. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. That website update should be out very, very soon. If you like all the content I'm making, don't forget to subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Like the video, drop a comment on the video, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Thanks for watching.